So welcome everyone. I am your pastor, Ivy Rivera. I'm a psychic medium, a Taino Arawak. This is Roots Revival Interfaith, a federally recognized religion and church where we believe in the three truths. That's astrology, numerology, and intuitive intelligence. If you follow these three truths in your life, it'll lead to greater insight, understanding of your true life path, and it will allow you to grow, to heal, and eventually, ultimately, to be able to give that assistance out to others. All right, so we are talking today about despair, essentially. Not an easy topic. When everyone wants to give up on life, how to navigate. Okay, that's today's sermon topic. I've been posting for short when we all just want to quit. Okay, when we just want to quit on life. Now, this may have seemed like a joke. I think that if you read this title and you were like, oh, that's funny. She must be kidding around. I think that's a great position to be in. You're very fortunate to be in that position, but there were also other people who read this and knew exactly what I was talking about. So if you know, you know, right? If right now you are feeling emotionally, mentally, financially in the ghetto, you feel like you're not going to build a life for yourself, that there is no future hope. If you know of other people in your circle who are going through this, or everyone knows people in their community that are going through this, then this is going to be the sermon topic for you today. Okay, we're going to break down where we are mentally, internationally, currently. So I'm talking about the collective energy of despair. And we're going to talk about some things that you can do to protect yourself, to heal, to move through this. And that's going to be for you if you are not experiencing a ton of this despair. But I will say that even if you're not directly experiencing this level of hardship, you are still being affected by the collective energy. And then we're going to break down for you guys who are directly dealing with this type of hopelessness. All right. So I just want to preface this by saying, first of all, when we look right now at what type of year we're in, if we look at the numerology, we are in a 9-year. Now, the reason I like to talk so much about the numerology and the astrology is this. If humans had a better understanding of deadlines, of when difficult times were going to wrap up, of the time clock itself, because all things do eventually come to an end. If we knew more about that, we would have more hope. If you ever had to run laps in gym class, or you were in a race, right? Or you were dealing with a ton of stress, but you also had a date on your calendar when you knew, court was going to come, or the papers would be signed, or at least this thing would be over with. Well, that's what numerology and astrology can give you. That's what your intuitive intelligence is also trying to give you. But we aren't educated enough on this. And so we see really high suicide rates, especially with certain numerology and astrological transits, where people are destined to essentially change their entire lives. So there's going to be detox. There's going to be detachment. There's going to be moments of hopelessness. And without understanding why and when we can expect that to end, and the weight and the pressure to finally lift, you're living in a perpetual state of chaos, potentially. Okay, so it's important to understand these things. If you don't, follow your numerology, you don't follow your astrology, do it. Get into it. All right, this is the path. So back to number one. Okay, we are in a 9-year. What does that mean? Essentially, we are all getting rid of what no longer serves our growth and development. We are at the end of a cycle. That's what 9 is. We're getting ready for a brand new beginning. But as I'm always saying, new level, new devil, or everything requires a sacrifice. Or in order to make room for the new, you have to get rid of the old that's cluttering everything. So this is a particular point of intensity for everyone. No one likes watching 15-year-old relationships with family members, your marriage dying out. No one enjoys going through that. But is it necessary? Yes. And right now, is it happening to you? Is it possible that because you didn't want to roll with it earlier, now it's just happening, as a karmic ending, handed to you by the universe? Yes. Relationships right now are being hit hard because in a 9-year, you're being asked to create balance and reciprocity. So it's very possible that these relationships maybe were once okay or even good for you, but now you're realizing how imbalanced it is. You're the only one giving. It's one-sided. You've simply outgrown them, maybe. Okay, maybe masks are coming off. And I would love to hear in the comments section who's been experiencing this. People you've had in your life for even a really long time or forever, you're seeing them clearly for the first time. Their mask is slipping, or you chose not to see it before, but now you know who they really are. All right, so these are all different types of things, and of course there's more, but we are having to, and I like to see it as an opportunity. We have the opportunity now to look at these people and say, this is no longer for me. And you're going to have to recategorize it, set boundaries. Maybe that's walking away. Depends. But you cannot keep lugging that around and you cannot keep feeding it like you did in the past because, again, it's a 9-year. This is also a year focused on healing oneself. And as we all know, that is no easy task. That is no quick task. And it can be extraordinarily exhausting. So healing being a slow, heavy process, typically, with some highs here and there, on your winning days, that's been the theme for a while now. Everyone's feeling that. It drudges up a lot of stuff from your past, a lot of shadow work that's unaddressed. Generational curses, which I don't believe in, of course, but I do believe in generational programming. That's a lot of labor, a lot. It's also, in a 9-year, letting go of fear. Okay, how are we going to let go of our fears? The universe is going to take it and smush it up in your face repeatedly. It's like it's haunting you. Your fears are haunting you. They're resurrecting. None of this is fun. And we can't see the new beginning yet. Maybe if you're intuitive and you embrace that type of thing, maybe you're feeling it. You're kind of getting the vibes, but it isn't here. So what are you holding on to? You could just feel like you're stewing in all of this. 9-year is also about the self. So we're talking about self-love, self-development, self-discovery, your self-esteem. And before something's going to go up, as we all know, it's going to go down. You're going to hit that rock bottom to get up there. Okay. So, there's a lot of spiritual development, humanitarianism going on, healing the collective. So maybe some of you feel okay on a more personal level, but you're seeing the world for what it really is. You're seeing racism and genocide and how disgusting people in leadership you're seeing it. A lot of people are seeing it for the first time. Not if you're a minority or a person of color, you're, a woman or you're marginalized, LGBTQ, what have you. Probably not you, but a lot of people are. So try to put yourself in their shoes if you're not one of them, right? What do you think that's like for them? I mean, people like us who've seen it our entire lives and no one would listen to the truth. Now they're experiencing it for the first time. Think back to when you had your first original shocks, of disappointment and disgust and hatred toward you. Remember what that felt like. And they're getting not the full amount, but they're getting a piece of that. And it's disrupting their entire concept of life. Okay, so we can't have more humanitarianism without an awakening. Some people are going to stuff that down, and that's going to feed the collective in a toxic way. And some people are going to process it. And hopefully that's leading to a righteous anger and fighting on the right side of things. All right. So try to remember that. A lot happening in a 9-year. Okay. And what comes next? Well, you're going to build new patterns. You're going to find your creativity. It's a point of creativity right now, which to me just means getting in alignment with your life contract. Everybody came here with skills and tools that we typically don't use in capitalism. So maybe you're tapping into that, but you are getting ready for the new life. And that is something to look forward to. I say new level, new devil, but all it really is a detox, out with the old and in with the new. So let's focus forward as much as we possibly can. Here's the second thing I want to preface in all of this. This is a healing era. Let's talk about the astrology. Okay. We have Pluto in Aquarius, January of 2025, I believe it was. We haven't had Pluto in Aquarius in 250 years. So it's a period of revolution. And I've been talking about the revolution since probably 2015, 2016, just ramming this down everyone's throats. But now that it's here, it's not fun. It's not as much fun as maybe we thought. I mean, this week has been a little more interesting, but it's heavy and it's a slow process. And now that it's actually arrived, I think a lot of us are figuring out, whoa, I don't have the stamina for this. It's getting a little too close to home. But that is the revolution. Remember, you signed on to come to life at this time. Okay. Some of you haven't had a life here on earth since like the days of Christ. Okay. Or the American Revolution, the French Revolution, things going way back. So this is your choice to be here. You are equipped to make it through. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Of course not. Okay. But you did choose this. Try to just keep that in mind. We also astrologically currently, okay, we have 5+ planets in retrograde. If I have any astrologers, I'm sure there are a ton of you here who are a little more familiar with which ones those are and when they end. Yes, thank you for the hearts on TikTok, because I know everyone's next question is going to be, well, when are those over? And I don't have all of that information in front of me right now. But if somebody could type it, Google it, whatever, that would be great. But we do have at least 5 planets in retrograde right now. Okay, that is absolute chaos. That is creating such a sluggish, heavy sense. This could feel like you're going 1 step forward, 2 steps back, or like everything is just deteriorating. You're stuck in the mud, mouse on a wheel energy. Okay. What are retrogrades? Think of the word redo, rebuild, rethink. Okay. It's just a lot. Ultimately, some of the ones going on right now, I will tell you that they are based on, reflection on disappointment from your past. So there's a lot almost haunting us again in the astrology as well as the numerology, reminding us of losses we've taken, grief, and it is supposed to lead us into something better, showing us areas that haven't been dealt with, that need to change. This is bringing up extreme emotions and a tremendous sense of isolation and loneliness. So, if you are finding that you just don't feel like anyone around you could possibly understand, or if you are in a literal circumstance where you have lost those relationships, or maybe you never had them, but you're really realizing it, that you need new support. This is all coming to the surface. And it is reading, very much as a sense of despair. Okay, so we need to remember that we can rebuild these things. We're supposed to be rebuilding these things, even if you're building it for the first time. Amen. Hallelujah. Then no time like the present. But expect to feel as though, you are currently being haunted by loss, and you have no clue maybe at this time what you want your future to look like. That's okay. things will get more clear. And I know some of the planets are going to be letting up a little bit by the end of November, but not all. Again, people, this is why you have to know this stuff, because if you have timelines, it makes all of us feel better. Okay. Again, it's like, when I go out on my walks, I'm working out. At some point, I'm like, okay, I'm going to die. I can't do this anymore. And then I realize, look, I've only got 15 minutes left, whatever it is. It's like, oh, I could do this again. All of a sudden you're cocky. You've got more to work with. All right. You have to stay in that space. And number 3, and this is just me saying this, okay? I believe, and I know, and I live by this law of the universe that everything we go through can be utilized for something. It can be utilized for growth or lessons. It can be alchemized from pain to power and given out to others around you. And you need to not lose sight of that reality. That is really, in my opinion, what coming to Earth is for a human being, a spiritual creature, right? It's a classroom. It can feel like a war zone, yes, and it often is, but it's also a classroom. So at any point, when you're going through a lot, you can examine how far you've come. You can examine all the other times you've used pain, loss, disappointment from your past, how other people do it, and you want to keep sight of that. Okay, what am I learning from this? What is it showing me? Even in the darkest hours, I would say there's always something interesting, fascinating. It is maybe too dark for most people to agree to look at, but it is curious, if nothing else. Okay. So get comfortable in that discomfort, live in that gray, be in that darkness, try not to run and hide your eyes from it. What is this all about? I will tell a personal story at the end. I don't want to get it all mixed up in today's sermon. So if you want to stay until, the end, I'm going to give a personal story on how I understand some of this. Otherwise, let's go ahead and get into it. So when everyone wants to give up on life, how to navigate. So people are going through awakenings with the condition of the let's say international politics, the lack of justice. People are recognizing that things like, the genocides going on, whether it be Congo, it be Gaza, what have you, that they're who's funding them, the US and Israel, and that we're putting money into it. And that even if you're not living in a country where you're literally paying for it, you are watching that your leaders aren't doing anything to stop it, or can't at this time do anything to stop it. This is a massive wake-up call. We also have a lot of people looking at their finances, and they are realizing they don't have enough to make it. You can't pay rent. You can't move out of your parents' house. Even if you were managed to get a mortgage in the past, you may be losing it. Foreclosure rates are up. Repossessions are up, right? People can't live like this. So even if you are working 2 or maybe 3 jobs, it still may not be enough to make ends meet. The increase in living costs have gone up. I'm not going to go through everything here, okay? I don't want to totally depress you guys any more than you may already be. So, but essentially, and I'll kind of wrap it up with this, from the deterioration of relationships to the financial crises to the constant chronic threat of homelessness or joblessness, right? Everyone is on edge, okay, to say the least, without much vision for a better future. And we see this, not to say they haven't caused this problem for themselves, but we see this even with the farmers. If you want to look at a dramatic statistic right now, look at the suicide rate among farmers right now, okay, who voted against their own interests and are now, the leopard ate their face, and now they're like just offing themselves. Like, I think it's, I want to say 1 every 3 weeks or something it was, and now it's just increasing. Like, it's so so wild that when people can't have the comforts, what they value is money and possessions, more than life itself, that's their first solution, is just to off themselves. Okay. And I'm not saying that some of you tuning in, may not be thinking of that as an option for you, an escape from life as an option from you. But it is something you're going to want to consider with the tools I'm going to give you today. Try applying these certainly before taking that route, because that is an irreversible route. And, you will have to continue the work on the other side, or reincarnate and continue the work. There's no do-over here with these things. So, just be careful with that. All right. But a lot of people who choose that, not everybody, but a lot of people, and that's what we're seeing currently, is that level of desperation and despair because the finances aren't right. And when you don't see any way around you to possibly recuperate from financial loss, you can't get access to resources, and you don't have enough of a community, certainly that would seem like the go-to. Okay. Suicide. We also know that, the hotlines, the suicide hotlines, people who are working in the mental health field, a lot of people are coming out and they're saying, this is out of control. Like, we can't manage this anymore. The healers are burnt out. Healers of all kinds are burnt out. But it's such a problem at this point that even people in the mental health field, right, are coming out and they're admitting that they can no longer help their clients because this is a systemic crisis, right? They can't afford to live. They can't afford to think straight. They can't afford to eat. They can't afford therapy, or they can't afford, to rebuild their entire lives. It's just a cyclical problem that has to be fixed from the bottom up. And, it looks like it's going to take a long time in a lot of ways. So at least therapists are coming out, psychiatrists, psychologists are coming out, people who work these hotlines on the crisis centers, everyone's coming out and saying, this is not even something we can handle anymore. This is beyond us. I, as a reader and as a healer, whether it be in my Reiki sessions or it be in, giving readings or doing like the spiritual life coaching stuff, what I'm finding is that people are pissed. People are angry. People are booking even just what is normally an enjoyable reading with me just to like vent and rage. And, even I some days am feeling like I'm getting burnout. Okay. I'm real sick of this. And then I've got my own problems from being in this society and taking constant hits. Let's talk about two of the groups that are particularly hit, the boomers and the doomers. All right, everyone is. But I think we typically think of this as like a millennial thing, that us millennials are like beyond burnt out. We got hit way too many times from birth, but it's actually, in my opinion, the boomers and the doomers. So what do I mean by that? Pay close attention, because this is where it's headed. The baby boomers are about to enter into a cycle where the consequences of a lot of their actions are going to come to fruition. Okay. And that's going to look pretty morbid for many of them. And a lot of them know this, they can feel this. And, it's also potentially leading to a lot of homelessness there as well. So it's not just mental and emotional, it's financial. We see this with the doomers. And I don't know why I always laugh at that, but it's just so incredibly appropriate, I guess. And not that I'm celebrating or laughing at Gen Z by any means, but the raw mentality, the reality, the realism there. Okay. It is potent. And they've been labeled, if you haven't heard that, they're the doomers. They see anything beautiful and they say, well, that's due to pollution, or, well, oh, you're enjoying that? Well, that's full of poisons. And, this is what's going on behind the scenes. This is what your government's doing to you. This is what's happening. And they're right. They're right. They're accurate. Okay. They're just seeing it clearly. And they haven't been, fed a bunch of dope. I mean, they're not high off the supply. They're not ever thinking from the time they were born that they're going to grow up and have these dreams fulfilled of, a house and a family and wealth and this and that and the other. They just have known that they may not even have a planet to live on, that the environment isn't, anything we're working toward in a significant enough way. It is a realistic outlook, even if we want to label it as doom, right? I think that what Gen Z could use more of, again, are the things we're going to be talking about here today, though. Okay. But it is the older population and it's the younger population that are giving off the majority of this heavy despair and hopelessness about the future. So watch out, okay, for those two groups and see how you can assist. And if you are one of those two groups, I'm going to be talking about you guys first. Okay, so first thing I want to touch on are the different ways you can help yourself to evolve through this process if you are suffering despair directly. So number one, talk about what you're feeling for the sake of productivity. Instead of shutting down, find people you could talk to about it, or even share and exchange. Like, you could take a turn venting, they can take a turn venting. You can have venting buddies. These don't have to be your best friends. You don't even have to really know these people very well. It could even be with just people out on the street. Okay, you may just have opportunities online or random situations. It doesn't always have to be like a therapist or a best friend or a trusted family member. Okay, it can be for sure. But talk about what you're feeling for the sake of productivity. And what I mean by that is be solution-based when speaking on things. What we speak, we bring into power. What we speak, we manifest. What we say triggers law of attraction, like attracts like. Okay. And you train your brain to believe that you're under a state of threat. You say something out loud about what you're thinking or what you're feeling or how terrible a circumstance is, and your brain doesn't understand it isn't actually happening right now, or I'm not in a state of danger at this exact moment, or I'm talking about this to heal myself potentially. Your brain doesn't understand that. It just believes that you are under attack. So it can spike your cortisol levels, right? You can have a more dysregulated nervous system. So I encourage you to talk and communicate, because this is where so many of us get our solutions. We say something out loud. We don't know what we're talking about. It's disorganized at best, but somehow the solutions come after that. It makes you feel better in a million different ways if you aren't holding on to it. But if you do it too much, or you do it without any sense of direction toward solution, okay, you are just spinning and you're taking everyone else down with you. So try to be solution based. And it is a solution to say, I need to vent about this just because I'll feel better if I talk about it. Great. That's a solution then. That's fair. I also want you guys to be careful about how you say it, because it can drive people off. People who are not prepared, it's too heavy for them. Maybe they're on the brink. They're hanging on by a thread, and we, dump all that. It can be too much. What's a great solution for that? Because a genuine friend will want to be there for you. What's a great solution for that? Ask if they're ready to receive it. I've learned in recent years in midlife adulthood that before I'm going to listen to anyone or before I'm going to reach out to anyone, we need to touch base and be like, I have this thing going on. Let me know when you're ready to receive. Okay. That's a good idea. Okay. Everyone can show up better for one another. Number two, categorize each and every concern you have. So it's like this big mob. It's like this big dark cloud. It's like this big, giant monkey on your back. When you just are feeling so many things, and so many things are legitimately not working, seemingly so, right? They're not working. Things are falling apart, whatever it is. It can just seem like such a heavy weight and like a big knotted ball of yarn. You can't make anything out of that. You need to unravel it. So paper and a pen is going to be your best friend. Categorize the things that you are feeling, that are hurting you, that you're disappointed in, that you feel aren't working out. Even stuff that hasn't happened yet. Like, what are your fears? Are you worried about losing your job? Are you worried about losing your home? Are you concerned about the lack of support in your life right now? Is it dwindling? I mean, what is it? Are you concerned about your health? What's going to happen with health insurance? All of that. Write it down. Give it its own space on your paper. This is one sheet. This is another sheet. This is another sheet. Okay, so categorize each and every concern. And then start going through it and come up with manifestations, visualizations. You can come up with, different mantras. You can call in your angels, your guides, your ancestors, your deceased loved ones. And I would reflect, up to 3 times a day on what it is that you're manifesting for yourself. Not the problems, not the woes. What am I visualizing for my future life, future situation? You can even, if you haven't done so, create an altar, create a memorial space, create something in your bedroom or your meditation space, or if you have no room, maybe even in your bathroom, like up in a corner, up on the mirrors, images of your loved ones, images of saints and angels and goddesses that you lean into, that are there to help you. Okay. Create an image, a collective altar that you can go to, look at, feed off of, okay, exchange with every time you pass it by. And ultimately face your fears. Face each one of those categories that you wrote down and say, what is the worst case scenario that could happen here? Okay. And your heart may pound. Your palms may sweat. Your teeth may grit. Okay. But let me tell you, once you go, what is the worst thing that could happen here? And you write it down, you've released it. The solutions can start to come in. The load can begin to lighten. You're creating fluidity, not a blocked up energy anymore. Okay. It's removed. So we could talk about possible solutions. A, come up with B, come up with C. And if there aren't any, and this is looking hopeless, there are no solutions, you now know that the fluidity is moving and the universe will be sending them. It will come. Number 3, don't wallow. Okay. So a lot of people just don't give anything. They don't, they go through life experiences and they don't give their knowledge. They don't give their wisdom. They don't ever become an elder. They never, what is it? Maslow's hierarchy. You're supposed to eventually, once you've gotten all your needs met, you're supposed to eventually be a leader, right, in the community. And this is what root survival is all about. How do we get to that 3rd level of alchemy? I took my pain, I, transmuted it into lessons and power, and now I'm going to give that power out to others. That's level 3. That's the completion. Well, a lot of people never get there. And so we've been raised by generations of people who just never bothered to go there. They figured that was information for them to hoard, for them to use, or that was for their friends and family. There's a lack of community. And we need to remember that when we are going through hard times, we have a healing remedy in going out and giving to others. So whether you're sharing your enlightenment online, you're sharing your experiences, you're being a listening ear for other people, you're working at a soup kitchen, you start volunteering, you start your own nonprofit, or you're, assisting other people with, I would even suggest, in the exact areas you're most fearful of getting involved in. Oh my God, I fear I could become homeless. Go work with the homeless. That is a sign of your karma. There's a contract there then between you and the homeless right now. How can you go immerse yourself in healing energy within that problem? What is for a lot of people a literal catastrophe happening for them right now? How can you be of assistance? So essentially, don't wallow. Okay. Also, understand that you have bigger life contracts with, let's say, relationship contracts. Okay. You have bigger contracts with people than what you think, because you were raised up in a world that says blood is thicker than water, and religion teaches you that family is everything. And a lot of people just stay with that little group. No, 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 no. Some of the most meaningful exchanges you're going to have are with rando people off the street and strangers, and in freakish circumstances where you never thought you'd be. It's off the beaten path, I assure you. Okay. So there's more happening there. Don't minimize it. Number 4. I love this. When spirit showed me this one, I was like, of course, that didn't even occur to me in all of this. But it's in the numerology that we even talked about here today. It's in the astrology. Plunge into your gifts. What creativity, right? Again, that's a 9-year. What creative projects are you supposed to be launching right now? Being involved in music and art and writing, or speaking and communicating, or performing in any way, or I don't care, you go chop down, a half-dead tree in your yard and you make a rocking horse out of it, or a big bear, and you're like, I'm a carpenter. I had no clue. Well, whatever it is that has been pulling you, capitalism has been preventing you. Right? Probably even your family and your educators, and certainly the government. Everyone's been preventing you from taking that route. And this is a time of creativity. So I believe that within everyone's life contract, you come here with certain gifts and abilities, and a lot of it is based. It is sourced directly from, right, the solar plexus, the even the root chakra. You need to allow yourself to be in touch with these energies, it's almost like hold yourself up, find your true power, truly expand, fulfill what you came here to do, and to be seen and heard. So you just may end up, picking up a guitar and playing in a band. It is important that you do this. And you need to network with other creatives. So part of the reason you never do it is because you don't really know anyone else who does it. This is a great time for you to get out there and be with other people who want to do the fun things that you do. Okay. Hobbies, skills, whatever it is. Launch the project. All right. Start the business. Entrepreneurship. Okay. Partner up with some people, collect what you've got as far as resources go, and launch that thing, because this is also a time for collaboration. 9-year, all the astrology, it's about collaboration right now. All right. So get together. This is about community building in large. No time like the present. And hey, if you've got nothing to lose, what excuse can you possibly have, for not doing what you have a passion for? Number 5. Assess what got you here. If you are in this state of despair, it is a time to take a look at what specifically is the root issue. So for some of you, it's going to be looking at your country and saying, my country is trash and I got to get out. I don't care what happens from here. It's too late. The karma is so thick and it's so gross. I cannot be here anymore and be happy or ever feel at home again. I can't. And for a lot of people, you never did, so you're just recognizing that it's time to go. Okay. That's a big undertaking. Great. But at least you're admitting it. Maybe you are looking at what's happening in your life right now and the unfortunate circumstances, the losses, and you're saying this is a problem because I did not come from enough support. I am lacking community. I am lacking family. I am lacking support in general. A lot of single moms going through this. You realize you don't have a village. It's all on you. That lack of support is critical, right? Maybe you're looking and you're really recognizing for the first time that because you came from poverty or you just didn't come from generational wealth, you're in these circumstances today of low wages, high cost of living, and you feel screwed, because of that. So you want to build generational wealth, or you're redefining what wealth is. Whatever the story is for you, you need to assess what got you to this particular place you're in right now. I would write it down. I would start meditating on where it came from. What are the root issues? How has it changed you and your perception? And where do you want to go from here with that? You'll feel oddly better, okay, after facing these things. But don't just stay on a stress wheel and be like, I gotta just grind, make it happen. Let's slow down. Let's look at what the heck. Get off the wheel. Get off. Okay. You can't create change until you understand what needs to be changed. Number 6, create a mantra reminding you that you can and will move through this. Okay, so you can look at your past patterns, other things that you've done, again, other people who've gotten through similar things or worse things, okay, and create some mantras or affirmations that you could just write down and you could take them out of your pocket. You could tattoo it on your hand, right? You could write it on your arm. You can henna it. But have something to look at that you can read to bring you back into this existence, this alignment, okay, with your higher mind in a productive way when you get stuck in negative loops, okay, cyclical patterns of toxic thinking. And, it could be something as simple as like, I am safe, I am secure, I am moving forward. Okay, it's whatever's going to work for you. I will get there. I will not fear this. The universe is working for me. The universe is showing up for me. I am going to show up. And remember, it's always 50% you, 50% the universe. So you put in your 50% of the labor, the accountability, the responsibility, and the universe will bring its 50%. Okay. Number 7, be realistic about how much time it takes for change to occur. This is a huge problem. Especially, I think, with some Gen Z and definitely the boomers that I've been working with. It's like there's a distortion on like the concept, the reality of time, and how long it takes to get a reward for something, how long it can take to have a breakthrough. And even once you do, you have to sustain it. You got to hold it down. You have to hold the line on that for a long time. I think both generations have been raised up a lot on instant gratification. So like Gen X and millennials, like we had to create our own. Like we didn't get that level of instant gratification, whether it be from technology or social media or whatever. You know what I mean? Becoming an influencer, like there are all kinds of things. And the boomers just had so much, they had a horseshoe up their ass. I mean, basically, right? So there is this misunderstanding there about how long real change takes. All right. So be realistic about that. Remember that rushing yourself or rushing your circumstances is a form of ego, which is fear, manipulation, and control. The universe reads it as greed or, a lack of gratitude. And I think rushing yourself is a form of self-abuse, especially when you can't make things go any faster. It reads in law of attraction as neediness. Okay, or greed for power. And so that's going to attract negative things. So be careful there. And it blocks manifestation. We would say that when you're like, I must have it right now, it negates your prayer. It negates your manifestation. Okay, fluidity. Do your 50%. Let the universe do its 50%. Number 8, create multiple streams of income. Number 9, go out and build in the community. Okay. And I mean actual building. I know I talked about touching base with your neighbors or, someone who's homeless or just going out and talking to people and just building a community. But I'm talking about actual going out and building within your community. How can you uphold, right? How can you help? I saw the guy on the news who put out the food pantry on his lawn and someone dropped, was it like $100,000 or something to him? Right now he's doing this whole thing. I mean, that's just one example. There are a million ways. Okay, but go out and build in the community. Number 10, fulfill your life contract. And what I mean by this is that when you understand your life contract, you can book a life contract reading with me. When you understand your numerology chart, I don't do those, but go see someone, someone skilled. If you want to get with a Vedic or Western astrologer, your birth chart, all 3 are identical. You came here to Earth with a purpose, many different bite-sized purposes within that ultimate purpose. And if you are in alignment with that, the money is going to flow. The networking is going to flow. The resources are going to flow. When you're out of alignment, you're like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, who was taking a nap on the side of the path, right? She didn't know her shoes could take her home. She didn't know the yellow brick road, was the path to stay on. She was distracted with all kinds of drama nonsense that wasn't her own. Well, that's what's happening right now. Everything's being removed so that you could have more clarity. That's not comfortable. It took her the whole movie to realize, that she needed to focus better and that her shoes could bring her home. And she had the power all along. And there was no wizard who was coming to save her, So you guys, I hope that helps if you're going through it. I do want to talk real quick here. I'm going to touch on all of these, and then I'm going to get into your questions and your comments. Remember, I can only see them if you're here on YouTube. So if you're on Instagram or TikTok, unfortunately, I can't see, but you could switch over to YouTube. Ask Ivy the Medium and drop your questions here. I do want to encourage everyone at this time, please do drop your prayer and healing requests. I will be checking this feed, even if you're watching this once it's published. I'll be checking the comment section and praying and manifesting over your prayer and healing requests for about 2 weeks. I do want to ask everyone at this time to please give this video a thumbs up. Drop a comment of any kind. It helps me out in the algorithm. Donations are appreciated. Please give this video a thumbs up. And if everybody could please let me know if you're going through something like this, someone who is, if you have any great resources, links, phone numbers, anything you can give. Okay. We are a community here that takes care of each other. And I would also like to hear where you guys are tuning in from. All right. So again, post your questions and comments. I get to all of them at the end of the sermon. So what can you do if you are feeling the heaviness, the dysregulated nervous system, the sleepless nights, the terrible foreboding, right? You don't know what the heck is going on with you, but you are just on pins and needles. What the heck is this? Well, You're probably a level 3, 4 empath, first of all. So you're accidentally, involuntarily over absorbing from the atmospheres, the objects, spirit, and other people. And that can happen through technology. But it's happening all the time. And, you are ultimately just a human being. You're a spiritual creature, having a human experience, and you are feeling the collective vibes. And it can feel awful and like something you can't really sort through because you're not really certain where it's coming from or who it's coming from, certainly what you can even do about it. And that left in time, and I can't prescribe a diagnosis, but can start to look like ADHD-like symptoms, irritable bowel, migraines, anxiety, depression, chronic tinnitus, like ear ringing, okay, and all kinds of things. So be aware. Now, if you know of someone in your family, your social circle, or your community, maybe you work with these people who are in this state of despair, these are different things that you can do for yourself and for them. Number one, secure your own mask first. Right? Just like being on an airplane, what do they tell you? In case of a crash, right? Before securing your child's mask, air mask, put your own mask on first. You are no good to anyone without protecting yourself. So you need to learn blocking exercises, cleansing exercises, grounding exercises. All right. Plug my empathic awareness class. It's up on the website. I teach you all 3. That can help anybody. You don't have to be an empath. But I would be doing this 3 times a day. I would do it before, you leave the house, or before you leave your bedroom, or before you're around a bunch of other people. I would definitely do it in the afternoon at least once. And I would do it at the end of the day to clear all that junk out. Okay. So it's cleansing, it's blocking so that a bunch more isn't coming in, and it's getting rooted and grounded, anchoring you. Number 2, focus on self-healing for strength and space. Maybe you're not being hit hard with the same things everyone else is. Maybe ICE isn't gonna come snatch you up from your next appointment, but how can you look at your life and say, these are areas where I haven't done the shadow work. This is an area where I need to do more healing. I need to elevate my power level so that I can be here for myself more and be here for others. I have to do this puzzle thing on TikTok. All right, so shadow work therapy. This may be a good time. All right, anything really that was supposed to go. Maybe it was supposed to go out of your life. Maybe you were supposed to make changes. Be mindful that this is your time before you get into a situation that you don't want to be in. And maybe that won't ever happen. Okay. But you could put yourself in, certainly, and we all can. All right. I'm not finger wagging at anyone, but you really don't want to do healing when you're in a crisis, right? Or you hit rock bottom, or it's a now or never. Do it now. No time like the present. To also do your deconstruction work, whether it be from the patriarchy or capitalism or your generational curses, so to speak, right? Whatever it is, do the deconstruction work. Decenter men, whatever it is that you need to be working on. And learn new tools. Okay, learn tools to also be able to give out to other people. Number 3, help in a way that aligns with your life contract. So, I kind of touched on this with the other group of people who are actually directly going through things, but, how can you help other people? Try to do it in such a way that is in alignment with your purpose for coming to Earth. And a lot of people ask me, what's my purpose? Well, it's probably not one thing. It's usually like 2 or 3, sometimes more, but we're talking about right now. So what is your purpose right now? What are you supposed to be doing, working on, elevating into right now? How are you supposed to be seen and heard in the world right now? And then you take that, and that's how you help your community, right? That's how you help people around you that are in need. Don't do some off the wall wonky ish that like isn't, you're out of your lane. You have no business doing that. A lot of people are forcing themselves into like, I don't know, maybe working in a food kitchen and they should be behind a microphone. It's like, know who you are and why you came here, and then help with that. Okay. Through that in some way. Most people are very out of touch with what service, what healing, what light work they have in their life contract and how they're really seen and heard. This gives back to you. All right. So you go out and you do something that's in alignment with your life contract, it's going to give back to you, versus a lot of people who, and I see this a lot with like therapists, they're so burnt out all the time. They're in their first year and a half. They're like, I'm going to quit. I don't care how much school debt I have. I'm going to quit. And I'm like, when they knew they wanted to heal others, this is just what they were told to do. And they went in the wrong direction. Okay. They're supposed to heal others, but not like that. So that's just one example of, thinking you're doing the right thing and pushing, beating your head up against the wall, and it never gives back to you. Your cup is never full. You should feel at the end of the day like your cup is full. It's a good exhaustion. You lay your head down and you are sleeping like a baby because you did what you were here to do. Not someone else's work, not what you were told to do. Also with number 3, another way that you can help people is just having a list of resources, so whether it be like phone numbers, it be links, it just be like where you don't have to get super involved, but you can constantly lead people in a better direction. This is who can help you, right? So get your resources in order. You may also want to train in something like Reiki. Back when I started doing Reiki a million years ago, people would do these shares. We would do Reiki shares. I think I'm actually going to start bringing them back. This is an opportunity for you to train in something like energy work, chakra healing. This could be psychic surgery. These are things that you could do long distance. You don't have to do a Reiki share where everybody brings their tables and they get together and you have to rent a space, and who can show up for all that? Sometimes, but you could do it online. But start creating healing spaces like that if you're not sure what else to do. Through the act of healing others, you receive so much insight about what your next step is in your spiritual journey. Number 4, stay informed of the chaos, but don't get owned by the chaos. So some of us can watch the news 24/7. My degree is in journalism. I'm obsessed, right? Some of us can consume and absorb and process and use it to fight. Some are more comfortable and remain stable by checking on the highlights, and being informed. You don't want to bury your head in the sand and become part of the problem, be complicit, but that's your limit. Okay. I now have the big ideas of what's going on in the world, and this is how I can use it. So you're aware of the chaos, but you're not letting it run your whole life. Same thing, goes for helping other people who are coming to you with their chaos. Assist them in finding their strengths, having more confidence in what can be created from this mess, and helping them come up with some, actual game plans. Like you're giving them the, ABC tool that I talked about earlier, where you write down, you put in categories your problems, and then we face the fear. What's the worst case scenario? And then what's plan A? If that doesn't work, what's plan B? If that doesn't work, what's plan C? Okay. How can you help people to do that? Because this is where they start tapping into their own inner strength and power. Number 6, and I'm going to blast through the last of these, and then get to your questions and comments. So number 6, Give out the wisdom you have, now or never. People are starving for your skills, for your light, for your warmth, for your care, for your generosity of spirit. People are starving for it. Okay. Do not hoard that, and don't only give it to people in your inner circle. How can you give what you have on a larger scale? Okay. People are starving and they need it right now. Activism, if I didn't already say it, I guess I always think that's like obvious that a lot of this is what I'm talking about here. If you haven't gotten into activism, get into activism, okay, for what you believe in. Number 7, give people something to hold on to. Whether it be friendship, it just be you listening, just being there, showing up on social media, even, holding lives, being in the comment section. I mean, this is kind of like what I was just saying about giving out your wisdom. But if you don't feel like you have any wisdom to give out, or you don't like that pressure, or you don't feel ready, you're positive, you just are not ready. Okay. I doubt it, but whatever. Just show up. You could just be there. You could hold space for people as well. Okay. And again, live chats and things like this online, posting great memes, posting affirmations throughout the day, posting helpful tools that people can use, and being with people in their freaking grief. I mean, I can't express how annoyed I've been over the course of my life to see how uncomfortable people are with talking about anything dark and, anything that's heavy, anything that involves, heaven forbid, feelings, or fear. It's like everyone just recoils. They would cripple out. And we need to get more comfortable just being there for people when they're in that energy. It's not always about fixing it. Sometimes it's just about being a shoulder to cry on, or not running from it, treating them like they did something wrong, or it's bad luck, or it's contagious, making them feel worse. Number 8, find joy purposefully, daily, and unapologetically. Laugh your ass off. Okay. And don't listen too much to people's negativity, because a lot of people aren't solution based. They're just going to stay, and they've had patterns of this probably their entire lives. They never change. They never grow. They never stand on their own 2 feet. They're just toxic. Cut that stuff off, because that's draining you a lot more than what you realize. Okay. But find joy purposefully. When clients come to me and they go, will I ever be happy? It usually comes side and side with like, will I ever find the love of my life? Will I ever be happy? Okay. But so people these days are just, will I ever be happy? I'm getting more and more of that. And it's like, are you going to make yourself happy? That's not an outside job. That's not the circumstances working out for you. That is a choice to choose the higher vibration and sing in the valley, right? That is a choice to laugh. It's a choice. I don't care how dark or twisted your sarcasm is. You know what I mean? It's a choice to pull that out instead of just wallowing in misery. So find things to laugh at, find things to enjoy. And if you have to do it alone, do it alone. Do it often. Number 9, take more personal space. So perceived threats. What do I mean by this? If somebody else is going through something, you desperately want to help them. Your brain doesn't know you're not going through that. Your brain, it's a perceived threat. Up goes the cortisol levels. You could stay like this for like 3 days or more. You need to be careful what you're entertaining. And a great solution for this is just to take more space from images, from social media, from people. Allow yourself to really be at your best when you're showing up in the world. Okay, for others. You're protected. You have the energy to do it. And last but not least, rest more. Okay. Even just sitting down and having a cup of tea. If you're like, I should get back into a daily ritual where, at the end of the day, I put my feet up, I have a cup of tea, I read a book or whatever. Yes. Or meditate, or resting is, I want to say 63% as effective as sleep, I believe. That's just laying there. Just lay there. Just veg out, okay? But allow yourself to get more rest as we navigate all of this, because we're not at the end point, okay? And Stamina is key. Focus on your health now or never. If you've been like, oh, I need a gym membership, or I need to start eating better, or I need to start walking every day. Yep, now or never. Do it now. Okay. That and the healing work, I would say now or never. Absolutely. Going to be here better for yourself. It's preventative, and you could be here better for everyone else who really needs you right now. We're not all, in a complete state of chaos. Some are going through it far, far worse than others. And this puts us in a nice sort of synergy. And when we look at synergy charts for love and astrology, for example, that's something you're looking for. You don't want both people in a love partnership, for example, to be like in hell at the same time and then high vibing at the same time. We want balance here. And that's what's happening right now. So if you're not really going through it personally, you need to be on the front lines of helping others who are, okay? If you are going through it, you're going to get through it. Use other people as a resource and make sure you pay it forward when you're through the gate. Hold the door open for the next guy. So I do want to just tell a quick story, and then I will get into your questions here, and again, if you guys want to tune out, I mean, that's really it for the sermon. To-do lists, okay, of help. So I hope that was helpful. If you haven't already done so, please do like this video, drop a comment of any kind. Donations are appreciated. Drop your questions now. If you haven't already done so, you could do that on YouTube. Ask Ivy the Medium. And I will be getting to your questions. Also, post your prayer and healing requests. If you haven't already done so, I will be praying and manifesting over those for about 2 weeks. So whenever you watch this, drop your prayer and healing requests. I was raised up in an abusive and neglectful household, to say the least. And I ended up living on the streets at 13, 14 years old, got my first apartment when I was 15, but I really couldn't handle it. I ended up having to drop out of school because I couldn't work and pay the bills, and try to eat and make it to school and finish everything. It was an insane lifestyle. And I don't know how I pulled it off as long as I did, but eventually I ended up dropping out of school, and I was homeless for a long time because paying rent and paying the bills, I'm not saying it can't happen, but it is just not something a 14, 15, 16, even 17-year-old is really designed to do. Okay. Especially without having ever been taught. And I'm lucky I'm alive. There were so many instances where I had to sleep in situations that I should have never entered into, but I was exhausted. I had no choice. You have to sometimes almost sell your soul just to try to go to the pawn shop and get it back later, just to live, just to survive these situations. And getting caught up in a homelessness cycle, because it is one. I was in such a chronic state of despair. I thought I would never get out. And for those of you that have ever been homeless, you can think, I will never get out of this. And a lot of people don't ever get out of it, And I will tell you this, with the horrible things I've seen and with the devastation that was caused by not having a support system, being abused, being neglected, being a minority, and being in such a poverty pit. I will tell you, even with all of that, I am 100% positive that every single thing, every phase, every season of my life is something that could be used, is something that I have used. So try to remember that the point of coming to Earth and having a human experience is to use whatever experiences you're having for growth, for lessons, to alchemize from pain to power, for storytelling, right? For healing, to give out to others, for strategy, for power. Okay. Everything can be used. and everything should be used. And if I can look back at everything I've been through, and I can say that, you can too, I assure you. But it takes some patience, which I don't have, but I'm working on it. Patience is a virtue, whatever. So try to be patient with that. Okay. Be realistic about that. But if you're doing the work, the universe will do its work and show you what it's for as well. Okay. When you feel like you can't figure it out. And it's not really a question as to whether or not you can use all of this. It's a question as to whether or not you want to. And I respect that when people say, I'm done with this earth. I'm done being here. Okay. I respect that, but I would highly encourage you to finish the job that you came here to do, because otherwise you're just going to finish it on the other side, or you'll reincarnate and go on again. So you've already got groundwork laid under you. You're already ahead of the game. No matter how bad it feels, you are. Okay. So let's not start over, Okay, I hope that was helpful. I want to get into your questions and comments here. Bethany says, grateful for prayers. Okay, for her children. Absolutely. I will get to those later. Jess is praying for a job. Okay, good. We've got some other prayer and healing requests here. Let me look and see if we have any questions or comments. Okay, looks like we do not on here. And again, if you guys are posting your questions or comments on today's sermon and you're on Instagram or you're on TikTok, I'll have to kind of answer them there later. Okay. If I can still see them, because I'm not able to see them from where I am right now. All right. So I think I got to everything that I can. I hope this was helpful, you guys. I know this probably could have been a part 1 and a part 2, but I figured let's just jam in everything together, because a lot of the stuff that's helpful for you to hear if you're going through it directly, is helpful for the other group who's not going through it directly, and vice versa. Okay. I love you guys. Tune in. I will be doing this Friday one of my brand new shows, testing it out. I'm going to be doing 3 of those in the next 2 weeks. So stay tuned for that. And if you need to book a reading, a psychic fair, or a party with me, you can go to Ivy Rivera, psychicmedium.com. I do work internationally. It's a simple self-booking system. Take care, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in.